So I want to begin this morning with a story. And this is a story that the kids might enjoy. You know what a donkey is? Have you ever seen a donkey? Yeah, this is a story about a donkey, okay? Do you know what kind of sound a donkey makes? Can you tell us? It's a hee-haw, and it really makes a loud, kind of sorrowful sound. Well, once upon a time, long time ago in a land far away, a farmer's donkey fell down into an old well. And that animal hee-hawed and cried piteously for hours while the farmer tried to figure out what to do. Well, finally, the farmer decided the donkey was old. The defunct well needed to be filled in anyway, and it just wasn't worth it to retrieve the donkey. So the farmer invited all of his neighbors to come over and help him. They each grabbed a shovel and began to shovel dirt into the well. At first, when the donkey realized what was happening, he cried and he hee-hawed even more horribly. Then, to everyone's amazement, it got very, very quiet in the well. The neighbors kept shoveling. Finally, the farmer took another look down into the well to see the progress. And he was astonished at what he saw. With each shovel of dirt that hit his back, the donkey was doing something amazing. He would shake it off onto the floor of the well and then take a little step up on it. Well, the neighbors kept on shoveling the dirt on top of the animal. And as each heavy load fell on its back, donkey would shake it off and take another step up. Pretty soon, everyone was amazed as the donkey stepped up over the edge of the well, and looking back over his shoulder with a huge donkey grin, he happily trotted off. I love that story. I don't know if any of you saw the original Shrek movie. Anybody remember that? Yeah. Donkey in the Shrek movie was just the most amazing character. He was just delightful, and I kept seeing that as I read this story. Well, Margaret Wheatley is the author of a book called Who Do We Choose to Be? Facing Reality, Claiming Leadership, Restoring Sanity. And I'm a little indebted to her today for the term islands of sanity. Maybe it's cropped up elsewhere, but as I was looking through her book, that's where I discovered it, Islands of Sanity. And for so many months now, I have felt like the return to the worshiping community each week has been like returning to an island of sanity in the midst of a world falling apart. And indeed, even with all the inconvenience of this lingering snow and the chaos it has occasionally caused, I've been filled with gratitude for living on this island. Even with all its idiosyncrasies, it still feels to me like an island of sanity, never to be taken for granted. The Soul Matters theme for February is embodying resilience. And I can recall when the working metaphor for resilience was a rubber band, something that could be stretched almost to the breaking point. And then when it was let go, it would spring back and resume its normal shape, good as new. The contrasting of the oak tree and the willow has also been used to describe resilience. The willow being supple, bending in a strong windstorm, while the oak, with its strength and rigidity, was apt to snap if a wind gust were powerful enough. The image implies that resistance is a matter of flexibility, the ability to bend without breaking in a storm and then standing upright again when the storm has subsided. These images of resilience that I grew up with seem to imply that when the stress of life is relieved, life goes back to what was normal before the stress began. The rubber band goes back to its normal shape. The willow gracefully resumes its upright position when the storm has blown through. Given the level of trauma and violence and chaos that is running rampant in the world and in these not so united states in 2026, we need some different metaphors to help us think about nurturing and embodying resilience as we move through this wilderness together. It is now pretty broadly affirmed that the ongoing stress of our current political situation is affecting our minds, our bodies, our spirits in ways that are changing us. Trauma is rampant as we witness the terror and abuse and even the murder of human beings in the daily news feed. A critical part of contemplating resilience is coming to terms with the painful reality that there will be no returning to normal from the challenging circumstances in which we now find ourselves. There's just so much commentary about how the effects of the damage that's being done now will reach far into the future, and indeed may be difficult, if not impossible, to heal. These are days when I find it easy to relate to that hee-hawing donkey at the bottom of the well as it becomes fully aware of what's happening to him. But wisdom stories being what they are, the tale does not leave the donkey there. Indeed, the donkey begins to employ and embody a primary characteristic of resilience. He figures out a way to use the abuse that is literally being used to bury him, and he turns it into a creative action and solution for his dilemma. He morphs from a wailing, hee-hawing, despairing victim into a critter who engages his donkey spirit. He's creative, using what is at hand. He quietly and resolutely becomes something else, one shovelful of dirt at a time. Our own Kanta Lipsky, some of you may know her. She's an island poet, an artist, a yoga teacher, a massage therapist. She offered a beautiful working metaphor for resilience in last week's Gazette. Perhaps some of you have read it. It came from her observation of the mycelium that she observed intertwined with the roots of a plant that she was repotting. She wrote about the mycelium as a vast, I'm quoting now, a vast underground web of fungal threads that send nutrients to the plants, that break down decayed matter so it can be reused, that can serve as a communication system between plants and trees of all species, warning of danger, giving plant neighbors time to defend themselves, noting that when a plant or tree is attacked by disease or insects, the more vigorous parts of the forest, by way of the mycelium, sends extra nutrients to help ward off the invaders. As I contemplated Kanta's beautiful description of the work of mycelium, I wondered what we might learn from the threatened populations that are perhaps the most visible images of resilience these days. What are the common mycelium threads that foster resilience in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Minneapolis? Where is the human creativity blooming in the midst of the chaos? Here's what I discovered. Ever since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine began in 2022, Ukrainian resilience has been fostered by adaptation at the local level. A lot of civil functioning has been decentralized. Local communities and municipalities are attending to the needs of their own people. Volunteers are filling in the gaps to provide services when there are widespread energy attacks. Major Ukrainian social institutions continue to function. People are getting their pensions. Public services are being delivered. But beyond all that, the people themselves seem to have a psychological strength that understands that their resistance to the oppressor is an existential necessity. In Gaza, resilience is defined by the Arabic word sumud. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly or not, sumud, but it means steadfastness. It's a collective determination to survive the ongoing conflict, the blockades, the humanitarian crises. And again, as with Ukraine, the resilience manifests through local, community-led aid, youth-led volunteerism, religious faith. There are daily efforts to maintain some shred of normalcy, like makeshift classrooms, where valiant attempts are made to continue the education of the children. Neighbors stand in the gaps that are left by lost loved ones, caring for the elderly, for orphaned children, in spite of severe infrastructure destruction. Resilience in Minneapolis focuses on building community strength against social stressors and infrastructure challenges through localized hubs and sustainability initiatives. Always the word local, localized keeps coming up again and again. Resilience hubs have been established in community spaces in local neighborhoods to make any needed resources readily and conveniently available. Crowds of volunteers with whistles witness and call attention to the abuse of their neighbors. The importance of volunteers cannot be overstated as the white population rallies to care for their immigrant neighbors at great risk to their own safety, as we have seen. In this month of celebration and recognition of Black history, we honor the resilience of the Black community that keeps it a vibrant and vocal and inspirational presence through generations of discrimination and oppression. And once again, in the power of local organization, in a commitment to nonviolence, to volunteerism, to a powerful faith tradition, and in the committed refusal to accept things the way they are, we witness resilience embodied. It's so important not to romanticize the resilience of these various communities. Their ways of fostering resilience are costly and painful. Resilience has many components, but in each of these instances, the common threads, the mycelium, if you will, are the critical importance of well-connected and well-knitted local communities and neighborhoods. The critical importance of knowing and caring for the neighbor. The central importance of volunteers. The incredible power of local. Where these components are present, effective, resilient islands of sanity prevail in the midst of the trauma and the chaos. Kantor-Lipsky draws the inevitable parallel between the function of the mycelium and the function of all of us as citizens who reach out to, quote, the weaker parts of the community to families who are under attack. We embody resilience with each expenditure of energy in behalf of our neighbors who come under threat. We embody it with each chilly hour spent at Five Corners in protest. We embody it wherever we visibly and publicly affirm the Fourth Amendment. We embody it each time we cultivate friendship and trust with a neighbor who looks and speaks differently than we might. We embody it in our volunteerism. We embody resilience each week as we gather to draw strength and encouragement from one another. Resilience simply cannot happen in isolation. Kanta's words pretty much sum up this sermon this morning. To build a stable future, we must continue to think like mycelium, fostering deep-rooted networks of care that prioritize the survival of the whole over the comfort of the few. Close quote. I'd like to think we've got this, that with each insult, with each shovel full of dirt, if you will, that is heaped on our common humanity, we have the capacity to create something different, to step a little higher, to emerge together into a more humane future. We have the power to be an island of sanity in the midst of the turbulent waters. We have the power to choose who we want to be. So be it. For our closing hymn, let's sing together number 354, and we'll be sing only the first and the fourth stanzas. Please stand if you're able. Benediction this morning is from a book by a Palestinian Christian, Sami Awad. He's written a book called The Sacred Awakening, which is a call to a new consciousness. This benediction is called A Benediction for the Brave. I will read the benediction, and then Anne is going to play a brief clip of a chant that's being used in the streets of Minneapolis, where hundreds of Minneapolis citizens are walking slowly, devotionally through immigrant neighborhoods, singing this chant. And the words to the chant, in case they're not clear, are hold on, hold on, my beloved, here comes the dawn. And we'll listen to that at the end of the benediction. But hear these words from Sami Awad. It's called a benediction for the brave. To those who still dare to follow, may the road rise to meet your surrender. May your illusions fall gently, your truths burn brightly, and your heart break open wide enough for the rain of justice to pour through. May you walk the narrow path with courage, not seeking safety, but presence, not certainty, but love, not admiration, but transformation. And when the world turns cold and your spirit grows weary, may you hear again the voice of wisdom, not calling for perfection, but for presence, not for triumph, but for trust. Go, not to build monuments of gold, but to become the living expression of love. This revolution begins in you.